Okay.
Okay, so when you have your accord forms ready, you'll open them up. Click your print button. Make sure it reads Appulate Uplink. Let me hide these really quick. And then click print. And then a pop-up shows up asking you to validate your Appulate credentials. So you'll click send, and your workstation will open Appulate, and it'll take you to a page that asks you to confirm what you want to work on. So if you drop this down, I uploaded or uplinked a 130. So the system is smart enough to know that a 130 most likely applies to these 5 different lines of business, but you have access to all of our lines of business as well if one of these doesn't fit. So I'll just choose work comp, and then you'll click continue. And then you're taken to the smart Q&A section. So anything that was duplicate on the accord forms translated into Appulate. So you don't have to fill out a bunch of information manually.
So they would not be able to be handwritten. They would need to be typed on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So a few things, this tab right here, this is your master insured tab. So it was automatically created based off of the information that's provided on the accord forms. There's also a contact section in here. I included Nicole as my contact on the accord form, so she populated. But if you don't have a contact or you need to add multiple contacts, to the right-hand side, you can add as many as you need. This big tab right here, this is your submission tab. It's labeled with the line of business that you're working on, the effective date, and the current status of your submission. If you ever need to change your effective date, like I do, just click on the date itself. You can type it in, but I like the calendar tool. And you can change it to whatever you want it to be. If you do change the date, just know that that accord form that you originally uplinked that had that old effective date will automatically update with the new effective date that you choose. So you don't have to go back to those accord forms and change the date yourself. Appulate does it for you.
Cool.
So as you can see, like we have a location in here, we have some payroll information, and that's because that was on my accord form. So if you're uplinking, let's say you're doing a 140 and you have locations on your 140, it'll show up right here as well. It really just depends on what accord form you're uplinking. But anything that's duplicate on the accord form will translate into Appulate and save. So you don't have to do a bunch of manual information.
All right.
Okay.
Any questions on this part?
It looks a lot easier when you can just upload.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys have, the best way to do it is have your agents do accord forms, even if it's just a basic 125. That way you don't have to come in here and do a ton of manual work for your insured. If you have just a 125, you can create the insurance profile that way. It's much easier, I think, that way. If they do accords for you and a supplemental app, you can only uplink accord forms. But if you go into the form section to the left-hand side, you can upload supplemental apps and they will go right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything besides accord forms or supplementals will go into this document section. Besides loss runs, we have a separate section for that. But there's a document section. So if you have an MVR or anything besides accord forms, supplemental forms, and loss runs will be in this section.
Okay.
Okay, so submissions. Do you guys want to see how to do submissions in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's review markets first. So up top under markets, selected. You want to think of selected as your agency's private library of markets. So you guys want to definitely see Markel, Liberty, Guard. You want to see them here. If you don't see them here, under markets, click on available, and then you can search for those ones. So we'll search for Guard. When you're ready to add them, it'll be this one right here. To the right-hand side is this little plus button. And then that action just moves them into your library. So same with Liberty. Liberty will be this one right here. You'll just click the little plus button. Markel. So that's how you add markets. If you guys don't see them there, you'll just click the little plus button. If you see markets that you don't want to see in here, just click this little minus symbol, and then that gets taken out of your library. You don't have to see them again.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you guys, and I highly recommend not skipping this step. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll click on your name, and down at the bottom is this market login section. So it does take a little bit of time, but it's a labor of love. But if you input your credential information for the markets that require it, such as Guard or Liberty Mutual, Markel, if you input your username and password, when you're doing submissions, it will automatically log you into the system instead of stopping you and you having to input it. So I do recommend coming in here and spending some time inputting your credential information for those websites. So the login type will automatically default to use shared login. So if your agency uses the same login, you don't have to change anything. But if you drop this down and you have your own personal login, make sure you change it to use my login so nobody has access to your credentials.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, and that is really the last big piece of setup before I show you submission styles. Okay, so when you're ready to do your submissions, you'll click on this add market little plus sign right here. And then you'd add the markets that you want to submit your risk to. I don't have credentials for your guys's, the ones that you use, but I will show you how to do the 4 different ways you can submit to within Appulate. I also like to take a minute to talk about this open brokerage section. So you can actually submit and get a quote back from any of these open brokerage markets you see right here without having an appointment with them. So if you're having a hard time placing something, or you want to maybe check out a new carrier to see what their product and pricing is like, feel free to utilize this section as well. It's based off a line of business and the location of the insured. So some of these markets will disappear depending on what you're quoting and where they're located.
Okay.
Okay, so now that my markets are added, I know you guys don't do supplementals, but if you ever decide to give your agents access in here, so once you add your markets, we also have supplemental apps that are attached to markets, so they will automatically create them for them instead of them having to fill it out. So example, this is Westlake GA. I mean, you can see it's fairly complete without me having to do a bunch of manual work. And this is based off of the bridge data for my Accord 130. So I know you guys don't do supplementals, but I just wanted to show you that. If you ever need to change something on the forms that are already completed for you, you can just click this edit button as well. And change the view to inline. This will be the form view. So if your agent filled out something wrong, you can edit it as well. I don't know what your guys' protocol is, so just showing you some ins and outs.
It's interesting, whatever it is, I'll tell you that much.
It sounds interesting, so I just don't know where to go from there. Okay, so since you guys are in charge of submissions, I will show you how to do. Do you guys also, do you guys do a lot of new business submissions?
Yes.
For clients that aren't yours yet?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys in charge of loss runs, like getting those loss runs, or is your agent in charge of that?
Agent.
Okay. Because we do have a neat feature in our system where, especially new business clients, you can actually skip their current agent. Hold on. Sorry, my 4-year-old is up. So in our system, you can actually, you can bypass their current agent because, difficult agents are out there where they don't want to share those loss runs with you, which makes it incredibly difficult to actually do submissions for them. We have a feature in our system called Loss Runner where you can bypass that agent and go straight to the market and request those loss runs. So I can definitely show you guys that. Or if you end up giving access to your agents, I'm happy to do some training with them as well.
I would like to see that part.
Yeah, because it's probably always going to fall on us.
Yep.
Okay, I will show you that. So I'll do this first submission, and it's a binding requirement for Westlake GA to provide loss runs. So I will definitely show you that when I get there.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to look at Westlake GA, and Westlake GA has this little clover image next to their name, and this represents an Appulate style submission. So Appulate style submission markets allow you to complete the entire rate, quote, and bind process entirely within Appulate. So there's no back and forth with an underwriter. There's no portal to go to. We have partnered with them. Everything is done in our system. Some markets have this little lightning bolt next to their name, and this represents a live API for that market, which means you have an opportunity to receive an instant bindable quote from that market, as long as the submission doesn't need to be referred back to underwriting. Sorry, getting in my office. Okay. So depending on like people's loss history, stuff like that, or line of business, I'm doing work comp, so you'll see me get it back pretty quick because there's pretty minimal information for work comp. But sometimes you'll get an instant quote that you can bind right away, depending on the answers to the submission. So you also have the opportunity to, you have the power to select and deselect from this submarket list. So essentially you're telling your MGA or broker exactly what markets you want them to approach on your behalf. So I'm going to do AmTrust and Encino for today. If you don't know what you want to do, you feel free to select all of these. You can do whatever you want on the submarkets right here. Okay, so in the middle of the screen are these colorful letter indicators, and these letter indicators can provide you with valuable information specific to your submission. So if I hover over this red D, which stands for decline, the market is telling us why it's declining this. So on this one, the FEIN is already in the system. Me and my training counterpart, we use this FEIN for all the trainings we do. So the system recognizes it. So what I'm going to do, I just need to move a few numbers around. So I'm just going to click on this. And because the link is live and dynamic, the system takes the guesswork out of where a question is located and highlights it in this red box for me. So I don't have to go searching through these tabs right here, looking for these tiny FEIN letters. It takes me straight to it to change whatever you need to change.
Oh, wow.
So let me just make sure. I've never used that number before. Okay. So I edited my FEIN and my letter indicator updated in real time, changing from a red D for decline to an orange A for pending acceptance. So if I hover over this again, I'm just going to continue clicking on these links and answering the questions that the markets are making mandatory for me to answer. Once you answer a question, it does get taken off of this links list, so you don't have to look at it again. Okay, so in this section, I like to tell people there's a couple different ways you can answer these questions in this area. You can, of course, continue going through this and clicking on this. It takes you straight to it. Or if you notice in this tab up here, there's a red number. That's the amount of questions that are in this section that are mandatory to answer, and they're highlighted with a red asterisk. So it's really up to you. I tend to find myself just staying in this section. If you go through all of these questions and you know that the answer is no to all of them, to the right-hand side is a shortcut to mark them all no at one time. So I'm just going to go through this and answer all of these questions. Do you guys have any questions for me while I'm going through it?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Again, this is work comp. Work comp is pretty minimal information as opposed to commercial property or, you know, another line of business. But regardless of the line of business that you do, the workflow will look exactly the same. So even if you've been doing a BOP, It probably requires more information, but it looks the same. Okay, I just need to add my contact. Once you add your contact right here, you have to assign a role for them. So maybe Nicole is the owner of the business. But maybe she also takes care of billing. This person can have as many roles as needed. So if they have several roles designated in that company or association, whatever you guys quote, there's no cap on how many roles you can assign them. Email address, phone number. Okay, so now that I answered all of the missing and required questions, I'm going to go back up and you can see that all of my letter indicators are now all green. Green is good. It's what you want every time you do a submission, because once they're all green, you could click on this request quote and it's sent off to AmTrust and Encino to look at your answers and provide quotes for you. I'm definitely slower than you'll see on your side of things because I'm in a testing environment. So sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it doesn't, like today. Okay, so actually, based off of my answers, I was able to receive an instant bindable quote from AmTrust, while the other submarket Encino will need to have a quote, the underwriter provide the quote, but when the underwriter does do that, you get an email letting you know that the quote is in our system for you. I don't know if you guys work with AmTrust, but I just like to show people and tell people the quoting format in our system will not change regardless of your use of Appulate. So Travelers, AmTrust, Liberty, the quotes will look the same as you are normally used to.
Okay.
So you send this off to your insured, they want to bind this quote. In Appulate, you'll bind, so the clover means you will do everything in our system. So we're going to bind this in our system. We're going to go to the right-hand side and refer to this orange request to bind button. Ours is orange because it's telling us we have to take care of some binding requirements first. So I'm going to hover over this again, and it tells me exactly what we need to do. So we need to get the Accord 130 signed, and we need to upload loss runs. So I'm going to start with the Accord form. So we're going to go to the left-hand side, click on Form. And then in line with my Accord 130 to the right-hand side are these three little dots right here. You'll click Sign. You would assign yourself as the agency representative, or if you need somebody else to sign, like a producer or anybody. If they have a login with Appulate, if you drop this down, they will show up right here. But if you guys sign it, just click yourself. And then you'd add your insured. I'm just going to deselect the insured for today though. And you'll click OK. Once you click OK, the form will then auto-populate for you to sign. And if you had an insured, it sends them a link via email. It's mobile friendly. They can use their phone, tablet, whatever they use to sign things or use. So this is the exact same signature process I'll show you right now that the insured would see. So the form populates, and to start signing, you'll click on this jumping green arrow. It's a lot like DocuSign, it's just through our system. And then you'll click on this orange box to sign, type your name in, choose a fancy font if you want, or just save and insert. And then you'll finalize this. And then you have to check this box to agree to the terms and conditions of the signature and click on sign. Once you sign, the signatures will automatically save onto that document for you. And an audit trail will also populate. So if you ever want to download that audit trail or the signed document, go back to your Accord, drop it down, and to the right-hand side is your signed document and your audit trail. And then that will automatically get sent over to the carrier. Okay, so we took care of the signed form. Now we're going to proceed with loss runs. So we're going to go to the left-hand side, click on loss runs. And Agora West is right there. And that's because I included prior carrier information on my Accord forms when I uplinked them. So it automatically saved in the system. So if your agents are providing that prior carrier information on your Accord forms, they will populate in here. If they don't, click on this edit insurance history right here. and you can change whatever you need. So let's just say I need to add one more year. I'm going to do just travelers. I'm going to type in a little bit of travelers, and then I'm going to wait for this list to appear and choose from this list. I'll delete this one. You guys do have to choose from the list because we have specific fax numbers and emails attached to those different markets. So let's say you already have some lost runs and you just want to attach them. I'll use travelers for this example. To the right-hand side, you'll click on these three little dots and upload your lost runs. And then that's how you attach them into the system. But let's say you don't have those lost runs yet. You want to bypass that agent, go straight to the market. We're going to utilize Lost Runner for Agora West. So to the right-hand side, you'll click on the Send Lost Runner button. And then the request type will automatically default to letter of authorization. So this is definitely the most commonly used request type in our system, and it does require your insured to sign it, because ultimately what this is, it's a letter from the insured directly to the carrier, giving the carrier to, permission to return lost runs to you as the agent. It's not a letter from you because the carrier would tell you, nope, you can't do this. It's a letter from the insured, which ultimately is the carrier's client. So this completely bypasses and takes out their current agent. So I'll talk you through this. Starting at the top, Appulate will populate your insured's information, followed by the market that you're requesting loss runs from, including this editable destination. So if you click on this pencil and drop this down, Appulate does our best to have the correct fax number and email address for loss run requests, but when they change that information, they don't tell us. So you do have a little diligence on your part to make sure that the fax number and email address is correct from where you normally request loss runs from. If you don't see them in here, you can add them and they will save for future use. So just make sure you choose the correct one. And then it's followed by the policy number and the policy period for the insured. And then it concludes with the body of the letter itself, which provides the market with the return destination being yourself as the agent. And then your insured's information will be down below. Mine is red, so just click on this little pencil and you can add them. So you'll click send and it sends a mobile friendly link via email to your insured. They'll click it, sign it. In order for this to work properly though, they do have to electronically sign it. They cannot print this out, sign it, and then scan it back to you. They have to click the link and sign it that way. The reason why is because once they sign it, Appulate will automatically send this letter out to this destination you confirmed in the letter. So you don't have to come back in here once your insured signs it. It just automatically gets sent out for you. I do like to tell people to check this box right here. So let's say in 7 days, you don't have loss runs back from the market. Appulate will send another signed letter out on your behalf to the market requesting those loss runs again. So you don't have to do any manual work. So you'll click send and you'll click OK. And then Appulate will timestamp all actions related to loss runner with the exception of when you get those loss runs back. So once your insured signs it, it'll say signed by insured. This will be completely green, and then it gets sent out to that destination. When you get those loss runs back in your email, probably, you want to come back and attach those. So same as the travelers, you'll just go to those three little dots and upload your loss runs. This also timestamps who uploads the loss runs and when. So if tracking stuff is important for your agency, we do timestamp everything.
Good deal.
Any questions on loss runs?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So that was the last binding requirement. So if we wanted to bind this AmTrust quote, we would just go back up and now we can actually request a bind. It gets sent off to the underwriter to bind coverage. Any questions on this submission style? I know it's a ton of information. A lot of people usually need to go in there and feel around first, but any questions so far?
No, I don't know. I feel like the whole being able to upload it is probably going to make things better as far as Kim and I are concerned.
Okay.
Not the agent.
Yeah.
Well, again, if you guys, once you get a new account, I'm happy to guide you through this as well, because I think people learn better when they're actually doing the motions. So if, new year, whenever you have something and you want to do it together, just let me know. I'm happy to do it with you guys.
Okay. On the setup, when we put in our specific user ID information, we have to remind ourselves that when we update it on our end, we got to go back in the system and update it on this end, right?
Like when you change a password?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure, because I think I've had one set up where it says, hey, we tried to submit this, but your password wouldn't let us push it through. So I just wondered if that was coming from you guys.
Yeah, so you do have to update your password in our system whenever you change that with portals, carrier portals.
Okay.
Okay, so the next submission style is ESubmission. And that's this globe with a paper scroll in front of it. They're still partners of Appulate, but instead of everything being done in Appulate, they want you to use their portal. And that's completely fine. Actually, Appulate can bridge over any duplicate data from Appulate into that portal for you. So it kind of starts your submission without you having to do all of that manual work with your insured name, their address, the contact. It will automatically send over that information if it's duplicate in Appulate. So for ESubmission, we're going to use Arrowhead as our example. We're going to go to the right-hand side, click on this request quote. The status will update to submission initiated, and a new button shows up right here that says finish submission. Once it's done loading, we're going to click on finish submission, and the carrier portal will automatically open. That's why the username and password is super important, because I didn't click on anything. It just automatically logged me in and populated my duplicate data in here. So saves you a ton of time. I know I was an account manager for 8 years, having to input all of this information every single time.
Pain in the butt.
So you will want to make sure that you answer all questions in here. So if it's blank, it's either not filled out in Appulate or it's not a question that Appulate asks. So you definitely do have to go in here and make sure that all questions are answered. But as you click from one screen to the next, Appulate will populate all duplicate data in real time. So it kind of guides you through there. If it's in our system, it'll go into the carrier portal. So you don't have to do double work, really. So here's the thing about ESubmission is once you leave our website, it's kind of business as normal in that carrier portal as you're used to doing. So once you go through all of these screens, you're going to get your quote as you normally would from that carrier, either downloading on the website or waiting to get it from the underwriter. But when you do receive a quote outside of our system, you want to make sure that you load it into our system. So we're going to go back into Appulate. Arrowhead is still our example. To the right-hand side are those 3 little dots. We're going to upload our quote. Give it a second. Do you guys use IPFS for finance agreements by chance?
No.
Okay, so just skip this step right here. And let's say you end up binding this Arrowhead quote directly on their website. You bring the quote in our system, and then you want to make sure you go to the right-hand side and mark this as bound. The reason why you want to do this is because this ensures that your reports are accurate, as well as preparing the system for next year's renewal. Appulate can actually kickstart your renewal process by bringing forward all the information from your insured from the year before and populating it into the new term. But to do this, you have to upload the quote and mark it as bound if you do in fact bind with that carrier.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on that submission style? Okay. So the next one is web link, and that's this more colorful globe, and it's extremely similar to ESubmission. What makes them different really is they look a little bit different, but ESubmission is considered in network and WebLink is considered out of network, but the actual submission process will look extremely similar because they're both bridging duplicate data from Appulate to the carrier portal for you. So for WebLink, we're going to use builders this time. We're going to go to the right-hand side and click on Request Quote. But instead of clicking on Finish Submission like we did with the other submission style, this automatically will log you in. WebLink does take a little bit longer, so take a minute to let it load. I'm not clicking on anything, it's just doing its thing. Once it pauses, that's when you can fill out any additional data that wasn't duplicate. So county, total subcontractors cost, it's either not a question that Appulate asks or it's not filled out in Appulate. Same rules apply on this one. You'll do business as normal. As you click from one screen to the next, Appulate will duplicate data in real time. You'll still obtain your quote on this one as you are normally accustomed to. You want to load it back into the system once you get that quote though. So we'll go back into Appulate, use builders, click those three little dots, and upload our quote. If you bind that, just mark as bound for the same reasons as ESubmission, accurate reports, as well as kickstarting the renewal process. So ESubmission and WebLink, extremely similar. Besides them looking different, the real big difference is ESubmission has one extra step by clicking on Finish Submission. Any questions on that one? Okay. So the last one is email submission, which is this envelope right here. And as a prior account manager, it has one of my absolute favorite features in this submission style. The first thing you want to do is add your underwriter. So we're going to go to the right-hand side, click on Select. Appulate does have a list of underwriters in our system, so you can choose from here. If you don't see them in here, there is an option to add them, and they will save for future use. Your underwriter will not change regardless of your use of Appulate, so whoever you use now is who you will continue working with. Okay, so we're going to, once your underwriter is added, we're going to click on Request Quote, and your email automatically generates for you. At the top of the email, and we can go through this, you might need an admin to help you through this, but you want to make sure you configure your mail server. The reason why is because right now the email is sent out on behalf of you instead of directly from you. And once you configure your mail server, it will also put a copy of the email in your email server's outbox. So whoever your guys' admin is, it might be one of you. I didn't have time to look at your.
It's not us.
You'll just click on configure. Okay. So when you talk to your admin, I'll go back. Tell them to go into setup, and under settings, you'll just check this box. And it's either an SMTP server, and they'll need the server name with the port number. And then once they do that and input their personal settings, you guys will do the same thing. You guys just won't have this company settings section. So you'll need your username and password for like your email or however you log into your computer. So you'll need an admin to set it up, and then you guys can finish it on your end. Okay, go back and we'll finish this one. Okay. So Appulate will attach things for you if something is missing, such as, let's say I want to load my lost runs in here. Don't click Upload File. You'll click on Add Existing, and any documents that are attached to your insured will populate right here. You'll just check the box and click Save, and they will attach for you. So let's say you're within the acceptable time frame of this market. They'll accept your submission right now. You'll just click on Submit Now, and it gets sent off to your underwriter. Here's my favorite feature as someone who has marketed thousands of accounts. Let's say you're marketing this to 3 different markets, but you're outside of the time frame for one market. They won't accept it yet. What you can do in Appulate is you can actually schedule a submission to be sent at a specific date and time. So to do that, you'll click on Schedule Submission down here, And this gives you your location's current date and time. So I'm going to click this little calendar. And let's say I'm 2 weeks out. So I'm going to schedule it for the 12th. I am definitely changing it to 12:01 a.m. insurance magic hour to block the market that morning. You'll click done, and then you'll click schedule and submit. Once you click schedule and submit, the system will schedule your email, and your status is now changed to scheduled. If you go to the left-hand side and click on activity, this is a timestamp log of everything you've done so far regarding your submission. But you can see that the last activity is the scheduling of my email. So when I get into the office on January 12th, let's say I get in at 8 o'clock, I log into Appulate. There's going to be a new line activity that's the sending of my email submission to ACE. So I don't have to come back in 2 weeks to revisit this account. I can move on to my next account, and I don't have to come back into the system and click any buttons. It just automatically gets sent out for me.
Okay. That's nice.
Yep.
If you guys need to put something in your agency management system in regards to your submissions, you can also export this log into Excel. So you'll just click on export to Excel, and you can save it for your agency management system if that is important for you guys.
I'll let the boss
But that's
do
really
that if he
Appulate.
needs to look at it.
Yeah.
So I am recording this, so I have to convert it over to a YouTube link, but I will get that over to you guys later today or tomorrow. Feel free to share this with anybody. So, but this is how you do submissions. What do you guys think? Do you think it'll help you guys with your submission process? I know it's hard to change the way you do things, but do you think it'll speed things up by duplicating that information?
It depends on what agent that we would deal with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good. They do type on apps. Some of them prefer they call back and say, hey, can you get one that we can type on? Others are like, okay, I printed it, and then you can't read any of their handwriting. So it all depends on the agent.
Who you get. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
that'll
never understood handwriting on Accord forms, to be honest. That's just
You're
a
not
coworker
alone.
that love to do that.
Not
does make
alone at
sense.
all.
But
Okay. But so whenever you guys get an account, and if you want to try to do your submissions in our system, let me know. Or if you guys are kind of playing around in there yourself and you get stuck on something, just let me know. My job is to help you feel comfortable in the system to kind of create a better workflow and save you some time.
okay. I appreciate this.
Yes. Thank you very much.
I will show you guys just a few places if you guys get stuck. So in this help tab right here, I always recommend people start with video tutorials. So this takes you to a page that shows you how to do something. So they're short little YouTube clips, but let's say you forget how to do a submission style. You come in here, we have all 4 in here. Most people have 2 screens on their workstation these days. So you could have this YouTube video up on one side and kind of following along on the other side. So I always recommend people start here because we have a lot of different videos in here. We also have webinars. So if you guys are interested in seeing the system beginning to end again, I host premium webinars every Tuesday. So my next one is not till the 11th, but if you want to just sit back and watch the system again, feel free to sign up for a webinar. There's no cost.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last thing is if you click on the logo in the upper left-hand corner, if I'm not available, we also have this live chat option down at the bottom corner, right corner, the 2 little bubbles. This takes you to our support team. They're fantastic. They're thorough. I talk to them all the time. So if you can't get a hold of me, feel free to get in touch with support.
App you bought.
Yeah. And then it will, depending on your answer, it'll take you to a live person.
Okay.
if they're in office. Yeah. But that's really it for the submission part of it. One thing I did forget to show you guys, in order to bridge that data from Appulate to those carriers that you're doing submissions for, go back up to tools and click on Appulate web link, and then make sure you click on this get extension button. So this is another program that needs to be downloaded, like Uplink. This one's super quick, so it takes like 10 seconds, depending. So it's a browser specific extension that allows you to bridge that duplicate data. So if you use multiple browsers to quote, like Chrome, Firefox, Edge, whatever you use to quote, just make sure you download this.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions for me today?
No, I think you did a much better job explaining it to us
Yes.
than our previous understanding.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah, so reach out to me if you guys want to work on anything or if you have questions. I am usually in the office, so just let me know.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yes, thank
Yeah, thanks for your
you.
guys' flexibility and have a great day and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to
Thanks.
you.
You too.
Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.